Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we're talking about Magical Girl Spec-Ops Asuka, which was a recommendation by Major Montana from our Discord. Thank you very much for the wonderful recommendation. Before that, we were talking about a bunch of other random stuff. Skylanders, CJ, past experiences, life in general, all that wonderful stuff. If you want to catch a part of that wider show, patreon.com/featured anime podcast, $1 a month getting you access to that bonus content, or you can join us live on twitch.tv/featured anime podcast. We do stream live all our episodes, most of our episodes, I should actually say, barring any technical difficulties or other things that end up happening and blah, 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 blah. Also, if you want to hear some wonderful, delicious treats and have those wonderful delicious treats go into your tummy by the way of your mouth, Tokyo Treats. If you use coupon code Featured Anime along with our affiliate link, you will for sure get yourself some nice delicious treats and save yourself $5 off that very first box. And trust me, the treats are worth it. They are delicious. I was gorging on them during the pre-show as well, and Rick was giving me a hard time because I'm not sending them any because I'm eating them all.
They look delicious.
They are delicious. Of course, we also have all our other affiliate links, and all that other information is available to you in the show notes as well as on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com. And now onto the meat and potatoes. Magical Girls Spec-Ops Asuka came out in January 2019, around all the way through March 2019. Producers for are Atlantis, BS11, ATX, just to name a couple of them. Studio for it is Linden Films. Genres are action, drama, horror, military, psychological, and setting. And it is based off of a manga. It's 12 episodes long. Now, Magical Girls Spec-Ops Asuka is an anime that kind of flips the script for that traditional Magical Girl show, where it turns the genre on its head by mixing up military action and psychological trauma with a gritty and dark story, with a focus on the main character Asuka, who is a retired, semi-retired, not really retired magical girl who previously helped humanity win a war against the interdimensional creatures that just happen to look like giant stuffed animals or bodybuilders with animal masks, known as Disas Beasts. Asuka, with her allies, known as the Magical Five, or a part of the Magical Five group anyways, saved the world 3 years earlier from where the story actually takes place. And as a result of that, there is a heavy price that is paid for that. And now she suffers from PTSD and wants to leave that life behind, only to be drugged back into it. Now, this show definitely touches on trauma. It touches on sacrifice. It touches on torture. It touches on PTSD. It touches on a lot of stuff, honestly, in this show. There's a lot that honestly happens.
More than just touch on a few of those.
Yeah, for sure. It's the war trauma and PTSD. I feel like they did a lot of justice for it, especially when it came to people who were not combatants, where they really kind of focused on how they would handle the stress, and no one's truly ever equipped to handle the stresses of war or trauma or things like that. And you know, my heart goes out to the people that are out there having to deal with it all over the place and everything else. But this anime truly does not shy away from that nitty gritty of it. So if you're kind of queasy on it and you don't like seeing semi-gory stuff, this is not really gory, but semi-gory stuff, this is not going to be the show for you. But they definitely do touch on that.
Yeah. Although I feel like, again, I don't suffer from PTSD, so I don't know. But I feel like the way that they represented it, if you don't know anything about it, or if you're curious about it, this would be a decent show to help understand what's going on. I feel like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely one of those shows where you would have that kind of mentality where if you really wanted to kind of see along the lines of how people truly reacted to to it, or the psychological trauma of it, this is definitely one of those shows for it.
And some of the techniques that they use to overcome the PTSD, I've actually seen. It was a YouTube short where you have an older guy, a veteran, like help somebody through what he called shell shock, what we now know as PTSD and stuff like that. And the method in which just breathe through your nose, control your breathing, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was done there, and they did it here as well. So that's why I assume that they've done a good job representing what it actually looks like.
True.
So again,
true.
I have no personal experience with it, so this is my best guess.
Yeah. No, kind of really diving into the story, how they follow the characters, how they really dive into everyone as a whole. It really speaks volumes for how everyone tries to handle it, whether it's through real world tactics or through whatever method that they choose to make up. And in this case, you have one such character that called War Nurse, who's a magical girl, is able to, if as long as it's early enough, able to eliminate the memories for the past week. So it's an all or nothing thing. So you have, and I like that they show the true internal conflict for someone who's not a relative to them, because they have those fond memories, but at the exact same time, you also have to go, no, it is better for them to actually forget all this. It's best if they don't remember the horrors that happen, because honestly, one of the horrific things happens to someone, and it is dark.
You can heal the body.
Yeah,
you can heal the body. Yeah, not easily, at least.
Yeah.
And their solution for this girl is essentially, we can wipe her mind for the last week, and then it'll be like everything that happened this week will never have happened, and you can move on. And that's what they choose to do. And the thing I liked about, though not liked, but the thing I appreciate that they did here is they didn't ignore what actually happened. And you see the girl come up, and she's no knowledge of it. She lost a week. She's like, oh, back to her bouncy, awesome persona, and just super happy. Everything's awesome and kind of pervy. And then like the magical girls around her look at her and go, like, you almost feel like there's a understanding that this is the way things should have been, an untainted version of her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes, I'm not going to say they gave the characters a melancholy look, but that's the feeling it gave me, that they were happy they did it and regretful they had to do it.
Well, it's not just that, right? You know that they also wish that they could forget a lot of the traumas and horrors and things like that they had to deal with. Because one of the things is, Asuka even says, she even says that she hates the term, or hates it when people call them the Magical Five, because there were originally 11.
Yeah.
And it just happens that everyone, or mostly everyone, died. And so there's only a few that are left.
Yeah, the 5 that are left are all separated, and they're technically, the way that it read to me was they weren't all friends. They were just magical girls that were chosen to be the world's saviors, essentially. And they now that majority of the trouble has passed, you find out that they're coming from different branches of service. Some are from the American military, some are from Russian military, some are from, like, they're from the world. And you realize that even though they fought together, they saw horrors that were enough to scar them, and they were able to have this camaraderie. At the end of the day, they were able to separate their collective victory for their national pride or national responsibility, if you will. So, like, it was interesting to see the dynamic where you've got, let's say the Russian girl came in and she was very cold to everyone there until they were alone, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're friends again. But in front of everybody else, they're very standoffish, very.
They have to be, right? Especially because they're a part of different countries and everything else. So Tamara, who's the Russian magical girl, and then you also have and honestly, I laughed at this because I mean, it's like really you have the American one who's the magical girl skilled in military tactics and firearms, whose magical girl name is called Just Cause Mia, whose name is Mia Cyrus, aka Miley.
Yeah, they didn't really hide their naming tactics all that well. It was very funny. I mean, the way they did it, it's genius because it implies a double life. It implies a second life. Oh, also, one of the things that I thought was an interesting twist was the magic girls, when they transform, have this innate magic ability to make them unrecognizable. Even if you look at them, the way that it was explained is you can look at them dead in the eye, you can conversate with them. The second they leave your periphery, you start to forget them. And after, I think it was 5 minutes, I think that was what was stated, after 5 minutes, it's like you weren't ever there. They remember they did something, but it's just a fleeting, well, you know.
I mean, I know what you're talking about because they did kind of state that. However, it wasn't him or them that magic really affected with or dealt with. It was one of the baddies where it was like that for the magic that he had casted on him. Their magic did kind of the same thing where it made it so that way you couldn't recognize them. And even if it was recorded, they wouldn't be able to recognize them through the recordings or anything like that. But it's not that they're able to forget them. It's not that they forget them, because if everyone forgot them, even after a few seconds,
that makes sense.
No one would know about them, and two, one of the side characters who's Asuka's friend, she wouldn't remember that being saved or anything having to deal with it, right? She wouldn't remember the magical girl saving her. And same thing for what happened with Aza, another Asuka's friend, the one that had that horrific experience. Exact same thing. If that was the case, even after the fact, even though they were standing there and she was a magical girl, and it had been time had long since passed, they would have forgotten. It's the magic that forces them to not recollect or recognize what's happening.
Okay. The guy had the different one placed on him so that he would be not invisible, but just not noticeable. I forget exactly what it is. Okay, to give you an example, my friend has an amazing ability. He's a big dude. Like big. Right. He has the perfect ability to be invisible. And to the point where I'm talking about an event that we both were at that I didn't know. Although we went together, we left together, but I have no actual memory of him at the event doing anything. But when he brings it up, I'm like, oh yeah, you were there. So I feel like it's a very similar situation where they've got this really big character, but his magic is simply making him unmemorable.
It's not that it's a magic. He's just not memorable, and he's not noticeable. Like, he keeps a low profile. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I mean, in the anime, it was 100% magic, but yeah, low profile, low. I feel like if he was to start doing like damage, they'd remember him. But other than that,
I don't know. This show honestly is, I don't know, man. With all that being said, right? They have a lot of context and a lot of information that they really kind of throw out there at you. But in terms of actual, it's not, but in terms of actual content, in terms of actual character growth and things like that, it's very shallow, in all honesty.
Very annoying.
It's
very one-dimensional, except when it deals with trauma.
Yeah. And even then, when a lot of it just, it doesn't feel correct or accurate, or it feels like they forced it. They shoehorned it in there,
100% yes. 100% yes.
Oh.
That's a very good way to put it. It was it wasn't out of left field because it does follow and it does track the flow and the story, but it was blatantly not a smooth transition.
No.
From one concept to the other, from one scene to the other. Like, to give you an example, they go through this horrific experience, finally save her friend, who, for the record, lost an arm, fully conscious, lost an arm, was basically waterboarded, just went through this torturous thing. They made her forget, and guess what they do next? Pool party.
Of course.
Like,
why not?
Okay, I guess.
Well,
sure.
I mean, not only do they have the pool party deal going on too, pretty soon after that, they also end up having a beach party and everything else. And so, I mean, it just felt shortchanged, right? It felt cheated. It did not feel as great as what it could have been. I understand, it's only a 12 episode anime. I understand that the source material probably leans really heavily more so into the character development. It leans heavily into a lot of other aspects of it. But if you're going to cut that much out where it just feels like you're, where it's just basically being shortchanged all the way through, make it a 25 episode. Make it a 24 episode, double the length, give us more, cut it into 2 seasons. I don't know. Only cover half the amount of content, because it's not like they did a whole bunch of different stuff. It was progression to progression to progression to progression. And you had this consistent like climax point, climax point, climax point, climax point.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a roller coaster, but it wasn't a solid, like, nice lead up, small little dip down, get you going. There's a loop to loop. No, it was a straight up 90-degree drop, and then a rise, and then a 90-degree drop, and then a rise, and then a 90-degree, and then a rise, and then a plateau and another rise. And you're like, okay, cool. The momentum's starting to build. Nope, fight's over. Okay.
Yeah. And how they ended it, I was not a fan of. I hated how they ended it.
No.
Like, that was how they ended it.
Nothing.
It's like, I'm sorry, like, did we decide to do a 0.5 episode at the end and not call it a 0.5 episode?
Yeah.
I know that's giving it away to a lot of people, but honestly, once you get to episode 11, that's honestly it. There's nothing else you really need to worry about. I'm just telling you right now, personally, I do like that they, and this is something you don't typically see in a lot of shows or anything like that, especially when it's people dealing with military or anything else having to deal with it, where you go, oh, look, I have to do paperwork now. I just saved the world, and now I have to fill out paperwork. It's honestly
the mundane.
I thought that was hilarious. I thought it was really well done. That was amazing that they did that, because one of the reasons why they always talked about paperwork in Archer is because they had a lot of feedback from secret agents where they complained about, like, the biggest issue with a lot of these spy movies is, like, all the paperwork, all the documents, all the paperwork, all that other stuff. Like, he's just going out doing whatever. It's like, bro, I wouldn't be able to do that. I have so much paperwork I have to fill out just to be able to do that. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Not even the otherworldly aspect of it. It's the fact that he's out there gallivanting around and not having to fill out a single form. So that's honestly one of the more beautiful aspects of it is even though at the end it just kind of is there, they are willing to go, hey, guess what? Even though all this happened, horrific things happened, you had this horrible traumatic event that happened, and now guess what? You have to fill out paperwork. Oh, where's that random form that I have to fill out to make sure that you understand that I had my arm decapitated and then reattached?
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't aware there was paperwork for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
you know what it felt like? It felt a lot like an after school special last 5 minutes, where you recap what you've learned and what you're going to try to do moving forward. And,
Right.
and when I say an after school special, I don't mean like a well done one. I mean one that was ham fisted. Here's what's wrong. Here's the solution. Here's what you should have learned.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yeah, like I mean,
well,
the big bad, you do find out who it is eventually, but
they never state the name. That's the thing. They never state the name. But again, and we talked about this in the pre-show a little bit.
Yeah.
Episode 2, you know, even if you don't know, and by the time as you continue to watch it, it's like, at some point, if you're even on the fence about it, it's like, I hope they kind of surprise me. I hope they just, pull something out of somewhere and just totally surprise me as to whatever's going to end up happening. By the time you get halfway through, you're like, yeah, they ain't going to surprise me. You already know for sure, for a fact, genuinely, like,
I mean, they did a good job showing who was evil and why they're evil and why you can't get behind them. And they're
okay.
Good.
So why are they evil?
Because they have no care their fellow humans.
Okay, but why are they evil? Oh,
that's a good point. There's no real drive for being evil other than maybe world domination or world change, government. You're right. They don't have a focal point for being bad. They have a trajectory, but they have no reasoning.
Right. So you have one of the main baddies that you fight there, the big guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, like, maybe the world should have been destroyed because it's not just the Disses that were evil. We have humans that are truly evil and horrible throughout the world too. And so that's his reason for going out there and just totally destroying everything. CJ says Scissors Girl is evil because she wants to scissor the mask lady. Yeah, you got to watch. That'll make so much more context if you watch the show last episode.
Yeah.
Truly evil, goodness. Right there.
100%.
But that's the thing, right? They never. It's like they're evil. Sorry, all right, cool. Why are they evil though? Like they're going out there. They're going against the people that are perceived to be the main focal points or the main individuals who are protecting the innocent and everything else. But at the exact same time, like they have an ultimate goal. I feel like an ultimate goal to just rectify the entirety of the situation, and they want to make the tough call that no one else wants to make.
They want to make the tough call no one else wants to make because they only perceive it in two sections, their way and the other way. And it's not that. There's no right way. Like this if you learn anything from this anime, there is no right way. There's just a way. And it's a way that aligns with your beliefs technically, kind of, sort of, almost. And you just have to be okay with it.
Becomes a morality question, right? It's like, what do you find morally acceptable? At what point do you find what to be morally acceptable? What do you think is at a point to where you can comfortably move forward with whatever's happening? Like, do you find the ends justify the means?
Well, I mean, yes, but the issue I had is they weren't using their own morality. They were using somebody else as the yardstick to define what was acceptable and what wasn't. Like, you have the same person going, killing is bad, murk 9 people. Not even a different episode, the same episode.
Yeah, but again, my question is the morality for them is the ends justify the means, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying that everything's out there copacetic and positive and happy-go-lucky. It's more along the lines of saying, hey, I find these horrendous deeds acceptable to get to the desired output or to the desired end simply because all of these other things.
Yeah, I can see that. But okay, to give you, here's where my example is. You have the bad guys killing legitimately just because they can. The second they break a fingernail, oh, woe is me, mercy, mercy, mercy.
Who?
The scissor girl. The scissor girl, the wand chick. Like, the second they actually get injured, they're like, "Oh, please don't hurt me. I'm sorry. It hurt so bad."
Well,
like,
the scissor girl didn't say, "Oh, please, woe was me." No, she lost her stuff and went on a murderous rampage, and then went for blood. She straight up went to murder and without murdering. She took it as close as she could. The other girl who started crying hysterically and everything else, like the mercenary girl, she lost an arm. Anyone who loses an arm would immediately just start losing their mind and crying. Anyone would. All right.
But she just got done blowing people up.
And that's her without having lost an arm. She lost her arm. Like that's a whole new level of trauma.
That's a Mike Tyson quote. Everyone's got a plan till they get hit in the face.
Yeah. That's because it's true.
Oh man. Yeah, it's an interesting anime, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Not something I would want to watch again. Just because how ham-fisted all of the ideas were and how down your throat everything was. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll so Destiny in our chat says, if you have not lost an arm, then you can't say how bad the pain is about losing an arm. For all you know, it's painful as all hell. I mean, and it's true. It's like, oh, it hurts. Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, they lost an arm. They lost an arm. You're not going to throw duct tape on it, Rick, and walk it off. You're not going to throw some mud on it.
They do. They do.
No. In this one, they don't throw duct tape on it. All right. They tape the arm together and use magic.
Fair. And that was another thing that kind of upset me. There was no physical damage that had any sort of repercussion.
So the repercussion is you have to save it or reattach it in enough time. And they do actually specify that.
They do, yes. But what I mean to say, what I mean by that is like,
aside from the psychological trauma of it too.
Yeah. I'm not, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole because they go hard in the paint with that. But any physical malady rectifies itself. Nothing is ever permanent. Not even the chick who lost a leg because she got a new leg.
Well, she didn't gain an original leg back. She has a prosthetic leg.
Yeah, a new leg.
Yeah. So you're saying. So what you're saying is everyone in this world who has a prosthetic leg didn't lose anything?
No. What I'm saying is the magical girls.
No. She didn't have a real leg given back to her. She still has a missing leg. She has a prosthetic leg.
Yeah. She has a prosthetic leg that works just as well, if not better, than her old leg.
You have
she became a magic girl.
Yeah, she became a magic girl, but she lost a leg long since before that. So you can't say you can't do the correlation of, hey, I had my arm, my physical literal arm reattached, and correlate it with, hey, I have a fake leg now. Because you can take the very beginning the guy who is not a magical girl has a prosthetic arm.
Yes, again, the magical girls have no physical malady that is permanent. The magical girls specifically. Although it's kind of odd considering you could wipe my statement clean by saying 6 of the 11 died. Straight up died. We assume.
And again, but the only reason why that they have those arms or the arms still attached is because it was within close proximity and time frame for it. And again, CJ echoes what I'm saying. A lost leg is permanent.
But she wasn't a magic girl at the time of the loss.
It doesn't matter. She lost a leg, dude. It's like that's permanent. She didn't just like spout. She didn't, when she became a magic girl, did she just sprout a brand new leg and then start walking around?
No, she was given a new leg that has fully functioning capability.
That is prosthetic. That is not real. And you can't correlate it to a magical girl specific because there's a guy that has a prosthetic arm that's fully functional too. In a scientifically fake magical world.
Yep.
Okay. So, but a lost limb is still a lost limb. And
I agree with you.
in real world, you can totally reattach a severed limb, granted, if it's within a certain amount of time.
I concede that point. What I'm saying is, once you became a magical girl,
that has nothing to do with it. That has nothing to do with it.
Is what you leave with.
No, it's not. Because the reason why that Asuka has her arm again is because Warner's was there soon enough to reattach it. And
so she lost it and then came back.
It was reattached, but the same thing for the Psycho Tank girl.
Made whole. Made whole. There was no physical ramifications to the magic girls.
So what are you trying to say is that, hey, guess what? If she lost a leg or lost an arm as a magical girl, left the limb there, didn't have anything reattached, just left the limb there, went about her day, moved on with her life, left the arm there, she would grow a new one?
No, because they don't do that.
No. You see, you said there's no physical ramifications, so it doesn't matter if she leaves it there or not. So she can leave it there, and
this will solidify my argument.
Okay.
Any magical girl that we met by the end of the anime, were they changed physically in any way, shape, or form from when we first met them as a magical girl?
So what you're saying is, was life-saving procedures performed on people in general that had a limb? Yes, that had a limb that was removed, reattached. The answer to that question is more than just magical girls had that happen.
Well, my specific question was
more than just magical girls had that happen to it, because you have someone who's a non-magical
girl did something.
You can't specify just a magical girl because you had someone that was not magical.
Talking about magical girls.
You can't specify just magical girls because you had non-magical girls. You had non-magical girls that had the exact same thing happen. That had the exact same thing happen.
But we're not talking about that.
That had the exact same thing happen.
Magic girls.
So what is it that you feel your argument is so solidifying on this? Like, seriously, like you're saying, well, they can't lose limbs. No, they can totally lose a limb.
No, they can lose a limb,
right?
But they don't.
And
so what I'm saying is they don't have any actual there's no long-term negative effects to their fights.
Besides psychological effects that are done to them?
Yes. Physical, there's no damage done.
Remember what we said at the very beginning?
We said a lot.
Yeah, okay. So let me put it to you this way. Physical wounds will heal. Psychological, not so much.
Yes, but I'm not referring to the physical.
No. You can't. Physical and psychological go hand in hand. You can't isolate one or the other.
Okay. Let me say this then, because here's
CJ
why
says
I'm
no
saying,
shade. I'm just confused. Rick.
Oh yeah, no, he said it.
What does the point have to do with anything though? I don't get the point. I don't get the point either.
I agree. So let me explain the point.
Okay.
So in other anime, you have I did this thing. Here's the negative ramifications. Here, it's they could literally do anything. There are no negative side effects. Again, aside from psychological damage, physically speaking. So any risk they might have taken is nullified by the fact that, oh, it's fixed.
Not true.
Any loss they might have.
Not true.
Not true?
Not true. They could totally have an arm that's completely smashed beyond saving, and she wouldn't be able to get a new arm. She would have to deal with a prosthetic. We're not talking about that. You said in general, and you made a blatant statement.
Saying what happened?
What happened in the show, aside from this, you're trying to separate psychological and physical. You can't do that.
Exactly. Why not?
Why?
They're two different.
Have you lost an arm and said, you know what, had to reattach it and be like, hey, could have been worse. Moved on with your life after a horrific experience like that?
I'm also not a magic girl.
So how can you say when the core plot,
because of what
the core information that is here is they are dealing with psychological and severe trauma, and you're like, hey bro, they only lost a limb, it doesn't matter, it got reattached, move on with your life, boo.
No, they didn't. The point is they didn't lose a limb. What I'm saying is their actions did not have the Their actions didn't have the equal and opposite reaction because the Deus Ex Machina, no matter what they did, it's fixed.
Cool. So
there were no.
Let's take Naruto. So CJ says you act like there's not a time limit on stuff though. Let's take your favorite anime. What long-term physical issues did plot armor Naruto get?
You mean minus the loss of the arm?
Oh no, he has an arm again.
You never know that.
Yeah, you do. If you watch the actual show, he has an arm again. So no physical long-term effects, sir. And by your argument,
fine. You're right. Sasuke did lose his arm, and it stayed lost
because he chose to. He chose.
By my argument,
he chose to. No. He chose to keep lose his arm permanently.
It fits.
So yeah, you do. He has an arm again. The F. Like remember, Brotello.
Brotello.
Borotel. I know you kind of forgot. Don't want to remember it, but yeah, he has both arms. He does. And CJ again echoes me and says he chose. I
don't disagree.
At what point does anyone else choose to lose an arm? Do you just like wake up, Rick?
No,
did you wake up today and just go, I'm just gonna lose my arm?
Are being avoided by it. You said that, everyone's made whole. Well, no, Sasuke lost an arm, and
so your point is Sasuke's an idiot. That's your point?
Well, I mean, it's a different anime, but yes, I agree he's an idiot.
Okay. Right.
What I'm saying in this particular show, that's all about trauma. There's no physical damage that's permanent when it comes to magical girls, which means all of the risks they were taking, all of the chances they were doing, all of the suspense that I was given. Oh, they might lose something. Oh, they could die. Oh, they could this. Never paid off. That's what I'm saying. They could have walked through an arcade or a theme park just as well as they fought, and there'd be no physical difference.
First of all, I find your phrasing weird. Oh, all these things that they could have died, but it never paid off. First of all, what the hell? Number two,
the risks they were taking.
Psychological trauma is way more detrimental, says CJ. I agree with him on this 100%.
But we're not talking about that.
CJ even says, my lord, you are so lucky I can't jump into this voice channel. Hey, you know what? I can fix that. I can fix it. I can fix that.
Regardless,
I can fix that.
I'm not talking about psychological trauma.
That's the point of the show.
Physical trauma.
That's the point. The point of the show isn't physical trauma. The point of the show is psychological trauma. The point of the show isn't saying, hey, guess what? You went to the hospital, you got fixed, cool beans. The point of the show is, guess what? You now have to deal with these severe psychological issues for the rest of your life. I
agree with that. But at the same time.
Okay. So why are you making such, why are you?
Because a physical thing isn't a psychological thing in this show.
Dude. All right. I'm dragging CJ in right now. All right.
Yeah, by all means, bring him. I got this.
Hang on. There we go.
Right, looks like you should be
there.
You
go. Okay.
CJ. Beautiful.
Brother.
Bring it. Let's see what kind of heavy hitters you got.
I'm going to talk in the most calm way because you have me so riled up right now.
Let's see it. I'll even do you one favor. When I see your light go on, I won't talk, so you can go whatever you.
Oh no, you can talk back. That's fine. I will just break down everything you say. So the whole theme about this anime is psychological. It like that. There is not a physical theme. The issues that we are going through, specifically with Asuka or Asuka, however you say her name, is the biggest issue she has is psychological trauma because she's a beast physically. Physical is not the issue here, but when you have physical issues, it then mentally stacks on you, which then gives her PTSD, which then affects her later on in life, which will stall her physically because she might have a mental break. Which she had certain episodes where she froze because she had PTSD. And what happened? She got hurt or somebody else got hurt. So you can't just take it in a little box. You cannot separate them. The physical trauma, even if they're healed, still affects them in life. We see that nowadays with soldiers or with people that I know, past relationships. They may not have been physically hurt, but with the psychological, it affects them physically.
That's understandable. I agree with that.
The problem is, CJ, is Rick wants to separate the physical from the psychological, yes. And he just wants to say, hey, bro, because they healed, there's no lasting damages. That's what Rick is trying to say.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say.
That is exactly your entire argument.
But that's not it at all.
That is your argument.
I've never said that.
That is exactly.
That's the thing. You don't have to say it, but that is what is implied. Because if you're saying they're totally fine, there are no stakes. That's not true. The stakes that they have are slightly physical, but majority mental.
I can agree with that. Here's the fight that I'm referring to. Yes, it's still close to the one she lost the arm in. But do you remember crap, what were they talking about? There were specific people she had an issue against. Looked like spiderweb stuff, where it was a very tense scene, I felt like, because she was restricted. She was basically cut off. There was a massive, almost insurmountable opponent in front of her that looked like she was going to take severe physical damage. She got through that, thankfully. It was nice. It was a good fight scene. It was kind of cool. Then she fought this other big bad who made her lose an arm. And they, in my opinion, they lost out on the ability to have any kind of actual repercussions. They could have written in there, oh, it was an unfortunate event. They couldn't do this. So there was a permanent thing. She made a mistake. She was reckless when she fought, and this was the result of said recklessness. Yes, there's PTSD. Yes, there's psychological issues.
Here's my last thing, and then I think honestly, you guys should probably just go to ratings, and then we will keep going on about this in the post show.
Indeed.
Again, in my opinion, you missed the whole point. You're harping on Magical Girl, and this is to show you that these girls are more than just magical girls. They are not getting their mind wiped because they are forced to deal with the trauma. Because they have a duty to go. Like, they can't wipe them because they need the memories to know what's happening. They are forced to deal with the trauma. It is not their own choice to deal with it. They have to deal with it. So, because they have a quote unquote duty to do, just like a lot of soldiers nowadays, which, again, it's a parallel in a way to how some of our people look at soldiers. Like, oh, they have a duty to do. And then what happens when they come over? They don't get taken care of properly. That is what this is dealing with. PTSD. It's just an acute version of Magical Girl, but it is a 1-to-1 with just, again, animification, whatever, like however you want to say it, of just trying to show it in like a cute way. But that is what this is. It's dealing with trauma that was forced on you because you have a duty to your nation. That is it in a nutshell. So the harping on, well, let me talk to a magical girl. That's the point. They are forced, not they it's not something they want, and that's what they show with Asuka. It's not something she thought she wanted to, which, again, we have a lot of people like, oh, I want to be Navy or whatever, and then you get into it and you're like, dang, this is not what I quote unquote dreamed about, because you have to do dark stuff. So that's what it is, in my opinion.
Honestly, the other last comment for me. And I want you to keep your last comment to 1 or 2 sentences, Rick, please. I know you.
Yes, you do.
Your crutch in this argument is they're a magical girl. That's your whole crutch. It's like that does not mitigate the actual trauma, the actual dangers, or anything else. It's the whole, they're a magical girl is not a valid argument in this, because that is not the focal point of the issues.
Okay. My final point would be that the loss of the limb wasn't the point of the argument. It was going through the experience as a viewer and not really having a need to. Nothing changes if she didn't lose the arm that I could see.
And with that, I got like CJ said, we can continue on this for a while. We've been going on for a long time, honestly, and this is just a circle going around and around. So on a scale of up to 10, CJ, since you're dropping in on us, on a scale of up to 10 magical girls, how would you rate the show from what you remember since it's been a while?
I remember it, like, generally. I just don't know, like, a lot of the quote unquote detail stuff. And I do remember actually what I gave it. I thought that, you know, the points that they wanted to show, you know, the trauma, et cetera, were done well. But outside of that, some of the plot lines were kind of just like easily understood. And then the end, I wasn't a fan of, like, the resolution. And like you said, it's like a 0.5 episode for the end. And Artsy and I were both like, huh? Like, what? So I gave this a 6 because I think it was pretty middle of the road. It was a little bit better than... I think I gave it a 6 just because usually I give, like, magical girl ones like 5 just because it's pure enjoyment. And so I had expected this to be like a cutesy one, and I was like, oh no, we're dealing with, like, some heavy topics. But obviously it didn't do anything mind-boggling with the plot, and no resolution I'm not a fan of. So yeah, I gave it a 6.
All right. And
All right.
Rick?
So you're more generous than I am, because objectively speaking, if I take myself out of the equation, it's probably a solid 7, because the execution to show the psychological damage and the psychological effect, I've never seen that before. And they did a really good job. The fight scenes, they were fairly decent, I feel like. And the color scheme, the comedy of the juxtaposition of this cutesy thing massacring everybody, made me laugh a little bit at first before I realized what exactly was going on. And then it was just horror. But again, that's kind of what they were going for. So objectively, I'd probably give it an 8. Personally, it's going to be a 4. I really don't like it. They did everything right. It's just not my cup of tea. So I'm going to stick with a 4.
Okay. I'm going to mirror CG on this one. I'm going to give it a 6 as well, largely because of the open ending. You didn't have a lot of resolution. The last episode was a 0.5. Aside from that, they do touch on a lot of the psychological aspects of this, and they do show a completely different side of the magical girl genre, which I am really, really happy about. So that, and I found a few things kind of predictable, even though they don't show it in the primary story or talk about it. You know. There's no questions. So yeah, 6, 6, and 8 for Rick from what he said, because he said personally, but objectively. So you can split the difference and go 6.
Pretty good. I don't like it, so I'm going to go with a 4.
Okay.
For the love of God, please don't put 3 6s on this thing.
Well, you said 8, not 6.
No, I said 4.
And I split the difference, and it'd be 6.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right. So next week, we're gonna be talking about what you recommended, CJ, and it's gonna be Kaiju number 8.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. That one's interesting.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I can use a bit of a break from something so dark and dreary such as this. But that being said, if you thought we did it too much justice, not enough justice, got off in the weeds way too much, feel free to let us know. Of course, you can always check out CJ at Anime Anonymous. I'll have a link for his podcast in the show notes as well. Feel free to check him out, and trust me, you won't be disappointed. I always enjoy dropping in and listening to him and Artsy talk about anime, and you know, it's always a fun experience, a fun times. You should go. So again, go check them out. And of course, all the other information and everything else is available in the show notes. And until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick.
And I'm CJ, joining, out of anger.
And we'll see you next time.